Hey Manos, good to see you again, and wonderful
No.
for you to join us today at the Arca's Founder Showcase. Well, welcome. Maybe before we dive in, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me here. My name is Manos. I'm one of the co-founders in WeatherXM. Yeah, I'm a computer engineer, but all three founders are computer engineers. So yeah.
Maybe for the benefit of the audience, could you tell us a little bit more first on what is WeatherXM, and then we can kind of understand as well your founder's journey to kind of get to this point, all the wonderful things you have built and done prior to WeatherXM that led you to essentially focusing full time on this new endeavor.
Yep. So WeatherXM is a community-powered weather network that rewards weather station owners for the data contribution to the network and provides accurate weather services to individuals, businesses, or research organizations. Um, our background comes from the industrial IoT world. We have been doing environmental monitoring for large enterprises for more than 10 years now, as a team, as a company, as a smaller company, of course. And we are three founders, all computer engineers, so we're like heavy on the engineering side of things. But today we count 42 people in the team. Um, and yeah, so as I mentioned, we have been trying to help our customers solve some problems that are related with weather for quite some time now. And in 2015, when we started Ex Machina, the old company that started this whole thing, our early customers were energy utilities, airports, seaports, those kind of large enterprises that they wanted very accurate weather forecasts. They wanted very accurate awareness of weather conditions at specific locations. And we, all the time, we were coming across the same problem, which was not enough weather data, not enough actual weather conditions, which are produced by weather stations, hardware that is typically deployed by the government. So, so we didn't have enough data to build upon. And at the same time, we didn't have accurate forecasts for the locations that our customers wanted.
And Manos,
So
maybe for the benefit of the audio, some great examples, as I think that could be quite powerful to illustrate it. What the accurate weather data difference can make to some of the businesses that you're selling this to. I think it's always important kind of anchor it into the real problem that you guys are helping to solve real industries.
yeah, so like the top two most weather sensitive industries are agriculture and energy. And it is calculated that there's tens of billions. I mean, it's a specific number, 30 something billion for every industry, which is the impact that weather has on that specific industry in sense of accurate weather forecasts. Now, to give some examples from the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, 1 degree Fahrenheit can lead to hundreds of millions of dollars. 1 degree Fahrenheit of forecast error, next day forecast error, has an impact of hundreds of millions in the US energy industry, to energy utilities, basically, as a whole. And this is because, for example, in the energy again, in most places of the world, there's an energy market where companies have to buy and sell the energy they produce or consume. And in that market, they have to specify in advance the amount of energy that they want. And so everybody's trying to forecast what's going to happen in the future. And production of energy and consumption of energy is very much weather sensitive. So essentially, they are competing or partnering each other on the basis of the knowledge of the weather, basically. So if the forecasts are wrong, then all the deals basically are wrong, and it could lead to huge losses, economic losses for some stakeholders.
Perfect. And so then how does WeatherXM fit into this equation? And what is actually unique about distributed networks that you guys are leveraging? What is different about your offering compared to some of the more standard and traditional information data on weather?
Yeah, so there's multiple phases in our project basically. So there's multiple ways to compare what's different in our case. I will start with the basic stuff, which is we create weather data in places that there's no other weather data, and that's very easy because there's so much little weather stations all around the world that if any company has figured out a way to deploy weather stations in an economic, viable way, then most likely they are producing new weather data that are very useful for some companies, for some countries, some regions. And we have solved this problem with the crypto incentive, basically. So um, what has happened in our story in relationship to the past essentially is that we always wished and we always imagined that there should be a way that we can create um, um, weather infrastructure networks by engaging with individuals. So, it's this romantic idea that you say, wouldn't it be nice if everybody had a weather station and they were deploying it at their house, and now the whole world has a plethora of weather data, and we can do a better forecast, and we can we can address all the weather sensitive problems in a more sophisticated and better way. So we tried to do that in the past using crowdsourcing or gamification techniques and so on. Obviously, those have very small impact, or it's very difficult to scale a business that way. And around 2020, we came across this idea of Filecoin and Helium, which is the crypto incentive essentially element in creating coordinating a huge community of people to do something in a specific direction. In our case, we're coordinating weather enthusiasts to deploy weather infrastructure. So the first thing that we achieve with this approach is the fact that we are creating new weather data, and we can kind of steer the direction that the network is going. We can also influence the quality of the data produced, which is an important aspect in our project. So if somebody deploys a weather station and that weather station is not working properly or hasn't been deployed properly, that station loses rewards, doesn't get the token rewards, and therefore there's an incentive for people to do the best possible job that they can. So that means we have created means to expand our network rapidly and create new data in places that didn't have data before, and obviously monetize on this data. And
This is also not just theoretical, which is important to highlight. And I think this is kind of the exciting part here of the presentation, where we'll get to see some real world products,
yep,
some
yep,
real hardware and software. So we'd love for you to maybe walk us through kind of the interface of WeatherXM, but also talk about some of the instruments that make it all possible. So
sure.
our audience can kind of visualize this a little bit better.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna share my screen to show some stuff. And but I wanted to also add into what we're discussing that it's more than creating raw data, because this data have a unique characteristic in the sense that this is data that has cryptographic proofs on chain. So obviously we use a lot of blockchain technology in order to make this project happen. We had to be in a position to be confident that the weather station exists, the data was produced by this specific device at that point in time, at that location in time. So we have created this idea of cryptographic proofs on weather conditions. And we needed that for our reward mechanism, but this opens up a huge range of opportunities in utilizing weather data on chain. And so this is the most obvious use case here is parametric weather insurance. And this is something that a lot of people have been talking about since the inception of smart contracts, since the beginning of Ethereum. But in practice, we haven't seen it happening yet. I mean, there are pilots here and there, but not much is happening in the sense of weather insurance on chain. But we believe that what we're building, it will be a critical component in that emerging market, because we are the only infrastructure and the only project that can act as a weather oracle that is powered by crypto native hardware, basically, and data produced by this hardware. But let me show you a few things to make it more clear.
Awesome. So what are we looking at right now? As I assume this is your main landing page?
Correct. So this is our homepage, weatherxm.com. Just a quick clarification here. So we have two entities, the company and the network. The network is the legal entity is an association in Switzerland and is acting as the legal wrapper of the DAO. So we started in a centralized style, and we're splitting slowly over time. So the DAO is in charge of the low-level stuff and the tokenomics, the tokens, and so on. The company is also the hardware manufacturer. But to jump on the network, explorer.weatherxm.com contains a live map of all the weather stations that we have around the world, and anyone can zoom and click on a random cell. And what you get on your left is a list of stations that are available in that particular cell. Okay, that was a very lonely cell, but nevertheless. So what we see here is real-time weather conditions from its place in Berkeley, from our hardware, and we can see in the mobile app, I'll see in a minute, we can see the forecast. We're minimizing the forecast on the browser. And we can also see the rewards that this station took in the past, and if there were any problems with the station and so on. So this is public data. Essentially, anybody can see this, and it's shaped in this user interface, the web-based user interface, but there are other ways to consume this data. We have some weather apps that are part of our B2B value proposition. We have an API that people can consume. Sorry, I should have had that tab open. So yeah, so raw data can be consumed in many ways. Through an API, through the user interface, or through bulk export that we do in Filecoin. So all the data of the network are daily exported in Filecoin. And this is basically a contribution as public goods that anyone can use the data and see the data, but at the same time, to commercialize on the data, you need to buy a license, and that license is paid in WXM tokens, which is what drives value into the token, basically.
Excellent. And could we also maybe, as kind of the final piece here of a demo, take a look at the actual device that makes it happen?
Sure.
I think it would be great to visualize that as well.
So this is one of our weather stations. This is the helium version. So
and we can stop sharing the screen, so maybe all the viewers can kind of see.
Sorry.
The device in full glory. Perfect.
Yeah, so this is how it looks like. It's a small compact device. All the sensors are on this one unit. So you have a wind speed, wind direction sensor, temperature, humidity, pressure, solar radiation, and precipitation sensor. So this is an energy autonomous device. So it uses AA batteries, but it also has a solar panel here. So it's trying to use the solar energy as much as it can. And if it's cloudy for a long period of time, it will go to the batteries. And This particular device communicates to the internet using LoRaWAN technology, which is the Helium IoT, the original, the old Helium network. And we also have a Wi-Fi and an LTE 4G device. So individuals buy the station, they deploy it, and that thing sends weather data to our network, and they get the rewards back. I will try to share my mobile phone very quickly, which is essentially what every station owner uses. So this is the Android mobile app, and here's a list of stations. Some of them I own them, others are just favorite stations that I want to follow. So if we click on one of those stations, we see again the real-time conditions, but now we can see more historical data in all the parameters that the station is monitoring, and we can see the forecast in detail. Now, what's interesting is that this is a custom forecast that we produced for this location. And this is quite an unusual value proposition because usually forecasts are standalone in the sense that if you have a weather station or you don't have a weather station, the government doesn't care. The government is producing a global simulation of Earth to the best of their knowledge, and that is the basis of most of the forecasts that everybody consumes today. So if you open your mobile phone and you use the Apple weather app, in reality, you are consuming NOAA's GFS model with some improvements for that location, depending on who the provider is for that forecast. And essentially, what we're doing here is we're trying to create a custom forecast for the exact location of each individual, of every customer of ours, by training the model using the historical data from the hardware. And that's quite unique. We used to do that for enterprise customers in the past, and essentially we've managed to, or we are in the process of making it accessible, very easy for all the stations, all the people that are part of our community.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Manos, so much. I know there is a lot more to what you guys have built. Very impressive all around. But again, this is just to highlight and maybe kind of tease out what WeatherXM has been building since our early investment, and we're very excited to see this in the wild. And actually, I'm very excited to finally get my station here at home. So we'll be joining the network. Thank you, Manos, and we'll check back with you in a couple of months to see how things are progressing.
Awesome. Thank you.